Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 11 defenses to stream for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be going in-depth into 5 different defenses that I believe you guys should be looking to pick up off the waiver wire right now based upon their matchups on the week. But before we can get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I'd also like to ask, if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me on there, to please do so at Notorious FNTSY. Link to my Twitter is also down below in the video description. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 11 defenses to stream. We begin with the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jumbo Jets. The Miami Dolphins are being rostered in 37.6% of leagues on NFL.com. So if you play on ESPN, Yahoo, CBS, any other website that is not NFL fantasy, then the roster percentage is going to be slightly different. The Miami Dolphins went up against the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football last week in a game that everyone thought was going to be an absolute murder, O.J. Simpson style, by the Baltimore Ravens. Everyone expected that while the Miami Dolphins defense looked pretty solid up against the Texans the week before, that everything was going to go wrong, that the Miami Dolphins were going to get bent over a table and absolutely eviscerated by the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan, and I believed exactly that. I thought that the Baltimore Ravens were going to have a decisive victory up against the Miami Dolphins, and that was not the case at all. And the Miami Dolphins defense completely locked down Lamar Jackson and that passing attack, as well as the rushing attack for the Baltimore Ravens, even though the Miami Dolphins defense is notoriously god-awful up against the run. So in that game, the Miami Dolphins defense had 4 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, 1 touchdown, as well as 10 points allowed in that game. Now, they did that up against the Baltimore Ravens. Many people would argue that the Baltimore Ravens are one of the best offensive units in the National Football League, that they're one of the top tier offenses in the NFL, and the Dolphins defense just absolutely eviscerated them. So imagine what the Dolphins defense is going to do now up against the Jumbo Jets, who just got a train ran on them by the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills offense looked amazing, as did their defense. So in that game, the Buffalo Bills defense went up against the Jumbo Jets in New York. In that game, the Buffalo defense had 1 sack, 4 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, as well as 17 points allowed in that game. The Buffalo Bills defense looked amazing up against the Jets, so I assume that the Miami Dolphins defense is going to have an easy time wiping the floor with whatever quarterback the Jumbo Jets roll out. If it's going to be Mike White, if it's going to be Zach Wilson, if it's going to be fucking Joe Flacco, I don't care at all. I think the Miami Dolphins defense looks amazing in this matchup up against the Jumbo Jets, and that is why they are my number 1 defense to be streaming on the week. Next up, we move to the Les Titans, the Tennessee Titans, going up against the Houston Texans this week at home in Tennessee. The Titans defense is being rostered in 39.6% of leagues on NFL.com. So week number 10, the Tennessee Titans went up against the New Orleans Saints after coming off of a heater game up against the LA Rams. The Titans defense looked so good in that game. They shut down Sean McVay's offense. They laid Matthew Stafford down in that game multiple times, and the Titans defense was on fire, and they've looked good down the stretch of the season. At the beginning of the year, the Tennessee Titans defense sucked complete and utter donkey cock, but recently they've been very good, and this week they get the Houston Texans. This is a cupcake matchup, a soft serve matchup. So week number 10, the Tennessee Titans go up against the New Orleans Saints. They get 4 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 21 points allowed. I still don't understand what the fuck the New Orleans Saints are doing. Now, I understand they were without Mr. Alvin Kamara in this game, but why is Taysom Hill not the starting quarterback of the team? I just don't get it at all. Why is it Trevor Siemian? But hey, I guess that's just my opinion. So the Texans were on bye week in week number 10, so we got to go ahead and look towards week 9 for how their opponent did up against that offense. And in week number 9, it was the Miami Dolphins defense going up against the Houston Texans, like I spoke about a little bit earlier. In that week number 9 matchup up against the Houston Texans, the Dolphins defense had 5 sacks, 3 INTs, 1 fumble recovery, and 9 points allowed. The Tennessee Titans defense is going to clobber the Houston Texans offense. It doesn't matter that Tyrod Taylor is back. It just doesn't matter at all. The Tennessee defense has fried much bigger fish than the Houston Texans, so I expect this to be a very solid game out of the Tennessee Titans defense. Next up, we move to the Carolina Panthers going up against the Washington football team. This week, the Carolina Panthers defense is rostered in 30.7% of leagues on NFL.com. Had to go ahead and do some editing magic right there to go ahead and let you guys see the Washington football team. So week number 10, the Carolina Panthers went up against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. I understand, but Nick, that was Colt McCoy. That wasn't Kyler Murray. I understand. But the Carolina Panthers defense has looked amazing over the last 2 games. And I expect the offense to look very good in this game up against the Washington football team. Is this a technical revenge game for Mr. Wham Bam Cam Newton going up against Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron, and the Washington football team? In my mind, it is, but it really isn't at the end of the day because Riverboat Ron wasn't there when the Carolina Panthers let go of Mr. Cam Newton. So the Carolina Panthers going up against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona in the desert, 4 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 10 points allowed. Now, I understand the Washington football team are riding high. They just bent over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game that didn't even feel all that close because Tom Brady looked like absolute dog shit at the beginning of the game. Week 10, the Tampa Bay defense up against the Washington football team. They had 5 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, and 29 points allowed. But I do believe that if the Washington football team are in the easiest spot to ever see to have a letdown game. They just beat a team that everyone is collectively talking about being a team that could repeat as Super Bowl champs, being one of the best teams in the NFL. They are riding so high. The Washington football team looked great in that game. I think they're going to disappoint big time up against the Carolina Panthers defense, who again has been sneaky good all season, but as of recently has looked very stout. I expect the Panthers to put up a very solid showing in this game up against the Washington football team. But before we get into the next defense, I would like to ask if you have ended up enjoying thus far, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. This video has been like my Jordan flu game. I don't have the flu. I'm just a little bit under the weather. I understand I sound a little bit stupid because I have a little bit of nasal issues. I'm a little bit nasally, but please make sure you like the video, though. It does genuinely help us out a ton. So now we're going to pivot on to the 4th defense to be discussed in today's video, and that is the Cleveland Browns going up against the Detroit Lions. Right now, the Browns defense is being rostered in 27% of leagues. Now, I expected the game of the Cleveland Browns versus the New England Patriots to be a high-scoring game. I talked about that a lot in the pregame, my pregame live stream, and I talked about how, hey, I think that the Browns are going to be able to put up some big points. I think that the Patriots are going to be able to put up some big points. And while it was a high-scoring game, it was because the Patriots were dominant all game long. They absolutely skull-fucked the Cleveland Browns defense. The defense had just 2 sacks and 45 points allowed. The Cleveland Browns allowed Jacoby fucking Myers, who is just allergic to scoring touchdowns, to finally mosey his way on into the end zone. Finally, the man scores a touchdown after, 38 games or something like that, and it was up against the Browns. So I know that now a lot of people be like, oh, Nick, how can you start the Cleveland Browns? Now, it's strictly based upon the fact that they're going up against the Detroit Lions, as well as the fact that I think that the Cleveland Browns defense is a lot better than they played last week up against the Patriots. In week number 10, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense went up against the Detroit Lions. They had 4 sacks and 16 points allowed in a tie. The Steelers allowed the fucking Detroit Lions to tie them. The Detroit Lions should have won that game, but it is what it is. I think that the Lions, they're definitely riding high. Now, normally most teams, they're not riding high after a tie. They're like, holy shit, we didn't fucking lose. We actually didn't lose a game. Sure, we didn't win. Sure, it's not red panty night. We didn't win, but, we tied. So I think that the Cleveland Browns here are in a very good spot to bounce back and to look much better defensively up against the Detroit Lions. Final defense to discuss is the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. The 49ers defense is being rostered in 45.2% of league. So the San Francisco 49ers actually play tonight up against the LA Rams. If you guys are watching this on Monday night as I release this, if you're watching this on Tuesday, then you know how they played up against the Rams. My expectation is that the Rams look very good up against the 49ers defense, but there's a big difference between the Rams offense and the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. So week 9, the 49ers went up against the Arizona Cardinals because, again, I'm not just going to go ahead and fucking pull up some stats that haven't occurred yet because obviously they haven't played up against the Rams yet. So week number 9, the Niners go up against the Arizona Cardinals, 2 sacks, 31 points allowed. That was a very disappointing game for the 49ers defense. I was like, you know what? They're going to absolutely bombard Colt McCoy. This is a cupcake matchup. Colt McCoy fucking stinks. He's not good. This is an easy showing for the 49ers, and the 49ers got bent over a table. But going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, things should be much easier. The Indianapolis Colts in week number 10 went up against the Jaguars, 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 1 touchdown, and 17 points allowed. I understand the Jacksonville Jaguars in week number 9, they won that game up against the Buffalo Bills. It was 9-6. The Jaguars' offense isn't all that great, and I expect the 49ers to look just good enough to warrant a streaming option on the week in week number 11. I am so shocked that it's week number 11. It genuinely shocked me when I was making this video, or like not actually making the video, but when I was looking at, compiling all the stats of the video, I was like, holy shit, it's already week 11. That's crazy. Thank you guys for all the support you have shown me thus far this season. I love you guys more than you will ever know. Thank you guys so much for everything. I hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, goodbye.